The Ministry of Education and Sports during the NRM Manifesto Week presented its sector performance report for 2021-2024, which indicated progress on the 30 commitments across the 7 priority areas that include early childhood development, primary education, secondary education, TVET, higher education, physical education and special needs education. In the report, the ministry drafted basic requirements and minimum standards for early childhood care and education centers that is expected to be finalized by the end of December 2024, taking into account regulatory standards and quality assurance system of early childhood care and education centers. The sector also mainstreamed the training of ECD caregivers as one of the packages for training primary school teachers. However, enrollment on government sponsorship for ECD diploma training is hindered by caregivers trained in unaccredited private institutions.
Progression pathway for ECD caregivers allows for advancement from a certificate to a diploma to a degree and ultimately a PhD, ensuring that those who begin at the certificate level can continue to higher qualifications.
Our specific minimum standards required for people to join. One of them was that you should have got your certificate from an authorized institution. Unfortunately, many of the ECD teachers who went through private training institutes, which are either appended to a TVET institution or some other place, those institutes were not officially registered as teacher trainers. So a lot of teachers failed on that front.
Under primary education, the ministry set a commitment to ensure that children complete at least 11 years of school from primary 1 to senior 4 and acquire skills required for the job market. In fulfillment of this, government is implementing the lower secondary competency-based curriculum, which equips students with relevant practical skills for the world of work.
The learners under the new curriculum are already demonstrating acquisition of relevant practical skills and knowledge application in real-life problem solving through their project work, where they are making functional products that are marketed for income generation.
The rollout of the new curriculum, which is still giving mixed reactions to both our parents and more so within the private schools. It's an area which needs to be addressed.
The sector report also shows that government invested heavily in procuring instructional materials for the implementation of the new lower secondary curriculum in both public and private secondary schools over the last 3 years.
Financial year 2021-22 to 23-24, the government has provided 37.77 billion for procurement of textbooks and other instructional materials to implement the lower secondary curriculum.
In another milestone credited on the sector performance balance sheet, the Ministry of Education and Sports constructed 114 seed secondary schools under UGIFT program out of the projected target of constructing 258 secondary schools, with each sub-county having at least one public secondary school.
Construction is still ongoing for 144 secondary schools, and these are expected to be completed by June 2025. Expecting to commence the construction of 116 new secondary schools under the Uganda Secondary Expansion Project, commonly known as USIP.
In addition, the ministry has negotiated funding facility from Global Partnership for the rehabilitation of 120 traditional secondary schools.
The whole country know what we're saying when we talk about traditional historical public secondary schools. Those are the old secondary schools that are mainly boarding.
We negotiated for funding with the World Bank, but before the funding was approved, the World Bank decided to defer approval. That is after the assent of the Anti-Homosexuality Act. The World Bank has come back to us. We're in the final stages of resuming negotiations. And that's why we're optimistic that this program will start.
However, the report does not indicate how many new public primary schools have been constructed per parish.
Any financing that we get, we are trying to focus it on construction of new secondary schools. For primary, currently we are preferring to grant aid. Currently considering an existing school, which may be a community school, and then government takes over. Government grant aids it.
To deal with underutilization of BTVET institutions, government has reduced the entry criteria into TVET by removing the requirements for pass grade in English and mathematics at P7 to join technical schools.
Mathematics and physics is mainly for the artisans and craftsmen, people at the entry level, and we have many of these. However, government has directed the department to cost a TVET trainee in a school to endeavor to have universal TVET education in the near future.
Meanwhile, in the area of higher education, government committed to prioritize research and innovation funding to universities. A case in point is the financial year 2021-2022 Makerere University Research and Innovation Fund was established and 30 billion shillings was allocated to it. Under the Higher Education Students Loan Scheme, only 1,838 applicants were supported with 7.2 billion that was allocated in the budget.
We did get, because we have said only 1,838 got the appeal, totaling to 1,200. And when our minister, this required a new resource amounting to 5.2 billion. But already we are in a year where Parliament has already appropriated the budget.
The scientific observation by the Manifesto Unit in the Office of the President puts Ministry of Education performance at 90% from 64% it scored last time. In the financial year 2023-2024, a budget allocation of 111,000.743 billion shillings was availed to facilitate enhancement of the wage bill for science teaching staff in secondary schools and tertiary institutions. However, government has plans to enhance salaries of all its employees as the economy improves. I'm Faridah and Dan Lugemwa in Kampala.